like 1 minute.
Yeah, I know we have 1 minute.
Nope, we have 4 seconds.
Well, we're already live on YouTube, so
All right.
Okay, Ella Willing.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 269. Cheap 4x4 mods and equipment.
tonight Jeremy sells all of his stuff, Aaron hits the brakes, and Ben loses his bolt.
Welcome to the Off-Road Podcast, a podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. I'm your host, Ben, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Aaron and Jeremy. How's everyone doing? Why don't we start off here with you, Aaron? What's new, man?
Well, didn't do anything really off-road. Well, I guess I did. I took Thomas's go-kart out for a spin yesterday
Did
on the
you roll it?
property. Just taking it out, goofing around with it, and then my daughter wanted me to take her for a drive, and I drove her around in it. And when we got back, I said, "Does Thomas drive this fast when you're with him?" She's like, "No, he doesn't." I'm working on him getting it faster. He did crash into a fence post and bent the steering arm, so it kind of looks like Ben's Forerunner that one time when it looked like this on one side.
Oh, and we ran Nazis.
So it still drives. The turning radius is really bad now because of that, because it's towed in. I just got to take it off and pound it somewhat straight again and call it good. Also dug some holes down at my shooting range. I'm getting ready for the event I'm going to put on in a month. And I went to a gun show yesterday, small town gun show here where I live. Got some. I didn't buy anything. If the government's listening, I didn't buy anything at all. Got some magazines for some things that I have. Actually, honestly, I bought magazines for things I can't shoot them through. So now that I say that, I don't have anything built that these will go into. Kind of funny. But truck related, I did replace the brakes on my truck. I mentioned that that needed to get done. Just the front brakes, and it's just the front pads needed it. They were literally worn down to where they put the brake surface onto the backing. So I used all 100, well, probably 99% of my brakes. So it was definitely time. And my favorite part about doing brakes, I don't know if you guys ever do this, is you're supposed to bed them in, like the bedding in process on brakes.
Yep.
Where you take it up to like 20 and then hit them pretty hard to get you down to like 5 miles an hour. And you do that like 4 times in a row. And then you take it up to like 55 and you like dynamite your brakes all the way down to 0. And then you got to do that like 3 or 4 times. It just depends on the manufacturer. So anyways, that's my favorite part, is I get to drive like an absolute lunatic. I'm sure it wouldn't pass in court. Be like, well, yeah, sorry, officer, a judge. I was just following the manufacturer's instructions, bedding in my brakes. It's just what I had to do. It said to do this, so I'm just doing what it said. So it's a good thing I live in the country, although I live in the city a lot too.
I don't think that's any different than you normally drive.
Yeah, isn't that how you normally?
I don't hit the brakes that hard. I might accelerate that quickly and go around the corners that fast, but I don't generally hit the brakes that hard.
Yeah, you generally don't use the brakes at all. You just keep going.
Send it.
Okay.
There was one time where we were doing that break-in procedure for our race car on the streets of Tacoma. Well, I say we, it was just me. And no, I take that back. It was my Subaru. That's right. I put new brakes on my Subaru. And I came to one stoplight and it was red. I couldn't just blow through the stoplight and I needed to go straight. And smoke was just pouring out of my wheels. All 4 wheels, smoke is just pouring. And there's people at a bus stop like looking at my car thinking it's on fire. I could smell it inside. I'm just in there smiling. I'm all giddy and just waiting so I could pull away and a cloud of boost. So yeah, it's fun bedding in brakes.
boozed. All you need is barbecue and booze.
Yeah. Getting some of that.
So, what about you, Jeremy? What's new, man? You still
Well,
active?
I have been doing a lot of web wheeling since I can't do real wheeling at the moment. I did need to replace my countershaft seal on my bike, so I went ahead and did that. And while I did it, you kind of have to drain the oil anyway, and it was in need of an oil change. So I changed the oil and proceeded to break a bolt on the cap for one of my oil filters because the bike takes two. So yay, making a easy process more difficult. I ended up having to go ahead and drill out the bolt and size it up a little bit. So now I have an unmatching bolt. Hopefully, I'll find one that's a little bit closer to a match, but it'll work for now.
Did you
and
teach
then
the new curse words?
no, I didn't curse that much. And then finally, did I mention I'm selling a bunch of stuff?
Not yet.
Everything I can find.
If
Everything?
it's not bolted down, you're selling it.
Everything must go. If I
Yeah,
haven't
well-
used it in a while, everything must go.
Well,
Axle's-
yeah.
How about like one of your kidneys? Is one of your kidneys up for sale? Because you got two.
Make me an offer and we might talk. Send your offers into the show.
Well,
I'm
I
A
see-
positive, so if that helps.
I see behind you something I'm purchasing from you.
Oh yeah, some Max Tracks over here.
Yeah. It was a deal. I couldn't pass it up. I'm like, I saw you
Yeah,
post them up. I'm like, hey, I want those. That's a fair price. I'll pay that.
Yeah, you sent me a message, you texted me, and you tried to call right in the middle of dinner.
Well, yeah, I didn't want someone else to pick them up before me. Like, drop that stupid ad, damn it.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna make all the money for the axle selling stuff. Obviously, it's just a way to try to. It's a good time to reduce some of the stuff that I have. It's definitely on my wife's list to reduce the amount of stuff that we have. So it's a good time
it's always
sell.
on her list.
It is always on her list.
She's like, you
Like,
see all those?
"Ah,
patches?
you
don't
don't-
need those. Get
You
rid of
don't need that
those."
spare tire. You got 4 tires. You don't need a 5th tire. Get rid of that. Sell that.
I might not be running a spare for a while once I get those. Well, when I make the jump to, well, we'll see.
Yeah, you see him there, the head tilting, like, oh, do I want to be
Yeah.
contradictory of what we say?
Well, it would be a temporary solution.
And
We'll see.
temporaries.
I would condone it if it was temporary and you're just going out to like Tahuya, which is less than an hour from your place.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's not
you
a
can
big
always
deal.
make it back there.
we'll
And
see.
you'll have cold valves and you'll have
Yeah,
patch kits and stuff like that. So you'll have possible options.
it's amazing what you can do with a bunch of patches.
And we're
Yeah.
not talking about
Plugs.
Patriot Patch either.
Plugs. Yeah, and this isn't a plug for Patriot Patch.
Not yet. That comes later.
I mean, I've seen guys like repair like a 2-inch gash in the sidewall, just shove it full of plugs, and it's enough to at least get them off the trail.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd go 70 on it, but
Or they'll
Yeah, you
like
could triple A
stitch
at home
closed
from
with some
there,
zip
or-
tie stuff.
you guys were talking over each other. What?
I said you can AAA it from there, like get off the trail and use AAA, or
You would have to have AAA for you to be able to do that, Ben.
Well, all right. So my vehicle insurance is like 50 miles or 25 miles or something like that. So for you, that would get you home, right? Aren't you within 25 miles of Tahuya?
Something like that. But yeah, I have pretty good towing with my insurance, so I'm not too worried at this point in time.
Yeah, I've got okay towing with mine, just not AAA level there.
Well,
Well, Ben, what have you been up to?
Well,
Gotcha, beat you.
I got home from the trip, and my steering had been fine. Nothing seemed weird about it, except when I'd back up, my wheel would kind of lock, and I only backed up like twice. Normally, I just pull into whatever I'm going, even home. Um, and so I went and was backing up, and my wheel locked. And I went to back up into the driveway to unload groceries, and for some reason, my wheel locks. I was like, "What the hell is this?" I get out and I look, and my wheel was turned more than the other one, like noticeably. And the bolt for my knuckle, I've got two bolts on the bottom side of the spindle with the lower ball joint in between, and one of the bolts was missing. So between Nevada and home, I lost that bolt, and it didn't affect my steering much, so I didn't
Much.
notice it. I don't know how much it was, how long it had been gone.
Ruined another pair of tires.
Yup. Also, you're lucky that thing didn't. The other bolt didn't come out while you're on the highway.
Oh, I know. Yeah, it was kind of scary. Like I realized that it had been gone, and I'd gone to work that day, and then came home, and it was just like, oh, wow, that's not good.
Nope.
So, fortunately enough, I had another one of those bolts. Actually, I have two of them from when I replaced my spindle when I bent it. So I went ahead and I got it in, but it was at 11 o'clock at night in the driveway because I'd work the next morning. So I was like, well, let's get this fixed. So fix that. And other than that, I've just been doing honeydew stuff. I've had some flooring in my house since April that
A
I've
long time.
Of
um,
2018.
so,
um, so I'm
I-
finally
la-
doing that.
so last year I made a joke YouTube video. Was it last year or 2 years
Yeah,
ago?
like
Man.
last year.
Where I was joking on Ben for not installing things onto his rig. And apparently it's true with his with all the stuff at his house too.
It's just my life in general. Procrastinating, you know. I mean, I've
think-
got Belkin shocks sitting here in my garage right now to go on the Forerunner.
You got those like 7 days ago.
Yeah.
I know.
Maybe 10 days
I got them.
ago.
I got them the day before the trip.
Yeah, and you were talking about installing them the day before the trip, and we're like, no, don't do that.
Yeah, no. I was like, I wanted to, but I also knew it was a bad idea. I wasn't going to do that.
Well, you're one broken bolt away from not making a trip at that point.
Yeah.
Or barely making a trip at that point.
Is there any chance that that bolt didn't get tightened down at your last alignment or whatever wheel and tire thing you
No,
had
it's not
going
an
on?
alignment bolt at all. It was.
Hold his ball joint on.
Yeah.
And I haven't messed. And that's the side I haven't messed with. That's the old ball joint.
Okay.
So
Second thought, is there any chance that your wife is trying to kill you again?
there is a possibility, very
She's
slim.
trying to get rid of you.
Check the
I-
mail for some life insurance policies.
No,
Yeah.
we do have a life insurance policy on me, and I am worth more dead than alive. So
Did she just recently convince you to up it?
That's
No.
most of us.
no. So yeah, I'm worth more dead than alive, and I have been on her nerves lately. Not really, but when am I not? So yeah, so it's just fixing stuff now around the house. I've spent so much time. We've spent so much time camping and wheeling this summer that I'm like, okay, I need to buckle down and knock out some house stuff. So my living room, dining room, kitchen, and hallway are all being done right now, and it's been backbreakingly fun. So yeah,
Fun's one way to describe it.
yeah.
Hey guys, we're looking to reach more listeners. We're going to start reading Apple iTunes reviews on air. If you hear yours, send us a message with your address, and we'll send you an Off-Road Podcast sticker. You can find all of our social media by just searching our name. Now, go hit that subscribe button.
So patriotpatch.co.
Have you guys seen the new Patch of the Month Club?
Yes.
Is that the glow in the dark one?
Is it glow in the dark this time?
Supposedly the nods are glow in the dark.
Okay,
And-
because
and
the last time that they had one like this, we were like, they should have done glow in the dark.
So no. There was a conversation, and Jake said this one is supposed to be glow in the dark, and then he posted a picture today or yesterday where the nods and then the wording are glow in the dark.
Oh,
And
I haven't seen that picture, so nice.
Because
I'm
this
well, what? Yes, that one we were hoping
should have been glow in the dark. This is
Yeah,
not,
totally.
but this one should have been glow in the dark.
Yep.
So hopefully,
Yeah, so
next one is.
I'm excited for this one. Looks like Lady Liberty's got a SBR, a suppressed SBR, and it has the U.S. Army Special Forces motto at the bottom, and I don't really want to try to pronounce that. Any of you guys want to take a swing at it?
I'm not a college educated boy.
It's de opresso liber.
Yeah, something like that. So it means to free the oppressed.
Yep.
Oh, look
yeah.
who's checking into the YouTube.
Yep.
Oh,
we got the
Nissan Nation's here.
Yep, Nissan Nation podcast, watching the live streams.
And I assume this means cross country adventures. Also, there.
Yeah, shout out to Cross Country Adventures. Yeah, to free the oppressed. It is a really cool one. They keep knocking it out of the park, and I don't say this just because I'm friends with Ryan or that they sponsor our podcast. They really make some of the best patches I've seen, and super high quality too. Now, when I see plain like cloth stitched patches, I'm like, yeah, I'd rather have PVC.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm right there with you.
Yeah. I'm excited for that patch. I
Yep,
just saw
me
the
too.
picture of it glow in the dark.
Yep, glow in the dark.
The news is brought to you by PowerTank, the ultimate mobile onboard air system for performance, versatility, and reliability. They are your source for all air-related accessories. Check them out at powertank.com.
So, is it Bronco news this week?
Nope.
What? It's not Bronco news? Must be Jeep news then.
Jeep news.
Jeep news. So there's been teaser photos of the new Jeep Grand Wagoneer. I'm actually stoked for this. I know this isn't going to be the Jeep truck or the Wrangler. I'm expecting luxury out of this because that's what the Wagoneer was originally intended for, right?
Sure, let's go with that.
It is. It's supposed to be an upmarket luxury SUV. It's going to compete with the Tahoe and the GMC Yukon. It's supposed to be super fancy.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking about this next week because that's what is it? The 3rd? Is that Friday?
Yeah. So in three days, they're going to give the full release on this one. So this article doesn't really have much. It's got a picture looking from the top down with a full glass roof, front to rear glass roof. Pretty sure you don't get a sunroof with this option. It's just a giant moonroof. Nothing opens. But you can also get an idea of the size of this vehicle, and it looks like it's the same size as a Tahoe or a Yukon.
I like the hood.
It's got good contours, yeah.
Yeah.
And actually the whole truck from the top looks like it's got some really good contour. And then it also has an interior pic of like the door is open just inside the door and there's a chrome air vent. I'm not entirely sure what's going on below that air vent. It looks like maybe it's a place where you set your cell phone and it charges on this resting platform. I can't tell. You might do lines of cocaine off of that part.
Lines of cocaine. Sure. Wow. That escalated quickly.
Yeah.
So, Aaron, This is kind of off topic, but Nissan Nation just chimed in that they're here to brag about their spy pics of the new Frontier.
Yeah, I'm working a whole lot more and don't get to waste time on Facebook very much anymore. And
Ooh.
I think I saw a little snip that they got some spy pics of the Frontier that they were going to talk about today, and I have not made it to their social media to check it out yet. That might
Spicy.
have to be.
I think
Well,
we're gonna.
do you know if they took those pics? Like they got them?
I just don't know. I know that they live in the area where that could easily happen, in Tennessee. So it's a good possibility.
Well, I guess
Maybe
our
they'll
listeners need
chime
to
in the comments.
head over to Nissan Nation and check out their pics.
Yeah, they're also firing up a new social media account called All Terrain Nation. So make sure you check that out as well. They're trying to branch out from not just Nissan, and they're still doing Nissan stuff, but they want to talk more trucks. So especially since I don't know if you guys heard, but Nissan just dropped the Titan like a week and a half ago or something. They're not selling the Topic anymore. Or the Titan. They're not selling the Titan anymore.
So, something else they mentioned in this article is they're also revealing the Wrangler 4xe, which is the plug-in hybrid.
I saw a Facebook ad that had that on there, and it was like this truck was just the Jeep was driving quietly through the forest, and all you could hear is the tires crunching and everything like that. So, kind of interesting.
That
Yeah.
would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's great to see all the new vehicles coming to the market because, like the return of the Frontier, or the Xterra. Is it Xterra or Frontier?
No, the Xterra is not coming back. The Frontier is being released with
Finally,
they're finally releasing the new version after
is
14 years or so. No,
that's amazing.
no, that's 16 years.
That's crazy.
Aaron, we have a fact check. The Titan is only getting killed off in Canada.
Yeah, I see that here in the comments, and I'm gonna blame the Nissan Nation boys for that one, for a clickbait headline where I didn't read the article.
Called
Yeah,
out
I'm
for
gonna
their clickbait
Yep.
headline.
clickbait.
I
Yeah.
think they could probably call you out for not reading the entire article.
100%, yes, or probably not article, but watching their video. Yeah, 100%. I did tell them that I missed their podcast. They haven't been putting their podcast out recently because they've been focusing on YouTube videos and stuff like that. I just don't get a chance to sit down and watch YouTube. But I do drive often and can have a podcast playing in the background or things like that.
Well, then I have a little advice for you. Bend an axle, and then you'll have plenty of time to watch YouTube.
No thanks.
Wow.
Yeah,
No
I know.
thanks. Yeah. Well, have you guys seen much about the electric Wrangler?
No, I haven't, and I've been anticipating it. I mean, I've got the Camry, and I actually like driving the Camry around. It's not a Prius, so it's not. I don't have to have that going on against me because I hate Priuses. But our Camry's hybrid, and it's nice when just cruising 30 miles an hour, and there's no engine; it just cruises and coasts. It'll be interesting to see what they do with the Jeep and how the hybrid works. If it'll work well off road, or if it's just going to be a mall cruising Jeep.
Well, it shows it out in the forest, so at least be good enough for forest roads.
Yep. Well, we got some listener feedback here from Captain Awesome. Been listening to you guys for a couple years on Apple Podcasts, and now I've only seen your guys' YouTube channel. it's crazy to imagine what you guys look like after listening to your voices for so long. Was listening to the podcast only the other day, and damn, I thought I need to see what the LMTV looks like. Anyways, keep up the awesome work, guys, and look forward to every new podcast episode. Thanks, Captain Awesome. You're pretty awesome.
Yeah, reach out to us and we'll send a sticker your way.
Also, head over to the YouTube and you can see some of the wheeling in the LMTV.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's what he was going there to look for. Yeah, LMTV was fun while it lasted.
Like
And-
lifting a tire on Bates Road in Tillamook.
Actually, that made me poop my pants almost.
That made me poop my pants too because my kid was in the car.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you guys are listening to live, because this will you will not have a chance once the podcast goes to iTunes, but we have a contest going on for the next 4 hours. It ends in 4 hours, so you do not have long. Jump over there, go to our Facebook page, and check out the the podcast page, and you will find it there on our Facebook. It's pinned right at the top. Go ahead and enter. And what can you win, Ben?
You can win a UFO light, and no, it does not go 10 feet in the air like I thought it did.
You thought it went 10 feet in the air?
I thought it
He
went
said-
a lot higher.
He
than
said it went
did.
10 to 15 feet in the air.
Yeah, so it only goes about, yes, it did.
Yeah.
I did. It only goes about 8 feet in the air. But that's plenty enough high to light up the area. We used it quite a lot for camping.
Every
And
night. We used
every
it
night.
every night on our Nevada trip.
So yeah, it was pretty awesome. And I need to step
What
away
was-
from some guys.
One really cool thing about it was that like I would open it up and take it out of the bag and it would like immediately start charging the from the solar panel on top, which was interesting. Even in like super low light conditions, it would just be charging because you set it up right before dusk, and yeah, it was really cool. Didn't have any need to pull the individual lights off or anything we were doing, so we just turned all the lights on, and then I didn't have any music downloaded or anything, so I couldn't pump up the jams through the Bluetooth speaker. But maybe next time.
Yeah.
Maybe next
What
time.
you're saying is you didn't have any music you weren't embarrassed that you listened to?
No, I just don't. Honestly, I just don't listen to music, so there was nothing on for me to play. I did have some podcasts downloaded, so I could have played some casual preppers on there for people to listen to. So, but yeah, it was super easy to take up and put down. My wife, my wife was the one who actually put it up almost every day and took it down every morning, and she did it without any instructions. And yeah, hats off to Bobby and his crew for building an amazing product. In the chat here, All Terrain Nation says the CVT UFO lights are amazing. I think I'm pretty sure they got sent one also.
You know, the only thing we didn't use it for was the music, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. That's because you don't listen to music. You listen to old folk music, right?
I like how
for
rehashing what we already talked about.
yeah, for
Stepped
those
away.
people for those people who are still listening to us but aren't watching live, Ben stepped away for about 30 seconds and missed all the conversation we just went through.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess it's time for the main topic.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
Well, so this week we are talking cheap mods and equipment. I'm the guy that's definitely the cheap bastard. I definitely wheel on a budget. I look for every deal I can get. It's just kind of how it's worked for me.
Hey, Ben, we all wheel on a budget. It just depends on what that budget is.
All
Yeah.
right, my
That's
budget's
very true.
shoestring and bale wire.
Sometimes not even that, I think.
Yeah, sometimes it's not. Favors and handshakes.
So
Must be some good handshakes.
yeah, that must be a good handshake. Um, just as a reminder, like with everything in the off-road space, you do get what you pay for. Sometimes you can cheap out. Other times, Ben, can you cheap out?
No.
You just kind of got to know what you're buying and know what whether or not it's you can cheap out on it. Sometimes you can sell the things down the road to get the better stuff, but don't expect to get much out of it. I kind of usually expect for anything used like less than half the value just by you buying it first. It's hard to get somebody to pay almost full price, even if you have something that's brand new.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, you just also want to make sure that whatever you're buying, if you are taking the cheaper route, that you don't risk your life and limb on something that you should be trusting with your life. I can't think of a good example of something like that right now. Well, maybe tires. Maybe you find some, not to throw Ben under the bus, but maybe you find some what people call rollers on Facebook Marketplace, and they're like $20 a tire for some 35s, because I eventually want to go 35s. I'll just get these rollers, and then you take them and you're driving them on the highway at 70 miles an hour to get to where you're going, but they have no tread and it's raining and it's cold out and you get in a car crash because you bought cheap tires. Don't do that.
No, don't do that. And we'll have a few more of those things that we say don't cheap out on. But I guess we'll just jump right off to the first one here on our list is removing those side steps.
That's
Yeah,
a pretty cheap mod.
Yep.
It's a very cheap mod. Removing stuff doesn't always help your off-road cred, but it is definitely the cheapest thing you can do.
Yeah, they and if you leave them on, sometimes they can be a damage multiplier.
Yep.
Yes, the damage multiplier.
So
Eric has a damage multiplier on his Xterra. We can talk about that when we get to the bumper section.
okay, let's do it. So the main thing with removing those side steps, a lot of people go, well, why would I remove that? Because it does provide me some extra protection, but it really doesn't. Because what happens when you hit that? It's just going to bend right into your body. So instead of, oh, I wasn't going to hit that because if I took them off with them on, now I hit it and now it went into the body. So it's a good idea even before you get some sliders, which I always recommend being one of the first things that people buy. Just take those side steps off.
Yeah, and even when it touches in one spot, with those, sometimes they'll touch in multiple spots.
Yep.
So you'll damage the front end and the rear end of your rocker instead of just the one spot that could have a little tiny dent.
Yeah, so let's talk about sliders then. So how can you cheap out? Maybe I shouldn't say cheap out. How could you have a budget set of sliders rather than paying big bucks for the fanciest thing out there?
Well, depending upon what you're going with. So if you have a Jeep JK, you could
Oh, I was going to say the Jeep.
get takeoff Rubicon sliders. They're
Ruby rails. Get your lingo right.
Ruby rails, whatever you want to call them. There's a mod you could do. If you're like me with a cheaper or with the Toyotas, I got the DIY kit and just find a buddy to weld them up for you.
Or better
Yeah.
yet, learn to weld yourself.
Or learn to weld yourself.
Yeah, but that involves spending money buying a welder. If you got a buddy who doesn't mind welding for a
Case of
Canadian
beer.
bacon and pineapple pizza and some beer.
Well, you can't be talking about you because you don't drink beer.
It's true. I didn't do Ben's sliders. I did his bumper.
on his Jeep.
On my Jeep, yeah.
Yeah,
Still
on a
haven't learned
Cherokee.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it can be a fun project or a good reason for a buddy to get out into the shop. So don't be afraid to ask friends if they'd help you weld something up, and they might even try to teach you how to weld on the spots where nobody can see where you were putting the weld down.
Yep, I've done a few lines.
But if you're constantly going back to that person to help you weld the rear bumper, then the sliders, then the roof rack, then the trailer, then the stiffeners and the seat rails and the holes in the floor, that might be too much.
They better be a pretty good buddy.
A really good buddy. Yeah. Yeah, so that's a couple ways to save. Another way I thought of is if you buy a kit that's specific to your rig, because maybe you have something that only one company ever makes sliders for. You can buy them bare, and if you coat them yourself, you might save money on coating them yourself. Instead of getting the powder coating, you could do textured paint or rhino liner type thing.
Yeah, and even just doing black primer will save you. I want to say, what's powder coating now? $200,
Probably for a set of sliders, yeah.
if
So
not
if
more.
you
I will.
calculating, Jeremy?
No, I was just gonna say again, pointing back to the beginning, you do sometimes get what you pay for.
Yeah.
If you just put black spray paint rattle primer on there, it's not going to last very long.
No,
No, but it'll get
it
you
will come off.
done until you can afford something more. If you're
Yeah.
Yeah. Although when you put sliders on, you probably won't ever take them back off. So
Yeah.
if you're gonna paint them with a rattle can, be prepared to touch them up with a rattle can while they're still on your rig, or just let them rust.
Yep. And be wary of those sliders that are really just tube steps that look like sliders.
Yeah.
My buddy got some of those for his JL. They said they were sliders, and it turns out they
Oh,
were just
no.
imitation sliders. Imitation sliders.
Did you get them from Wish?
No, I don't remember who he got them from. I'll have to look it up. But he was very upset about it.
Well, I mean, when I got my Jeep, I had those the Smittybilt sliders that mounted in 2 locations.
Oh, those were terrible.
Yeah, they were awful. They deflected a lot. They hung down real low. I mean, they were they were not sliders. They were tube steps that looked like sliders. I mean, you could use them for light trail work, but they were definitely the mall rated version.
For sure. Yep. Well, the next one we got here is cutting your fenders. Pretty sure Ben put this one on here. Ben, did you put cutting your fenders on this list?
No, I didn't, but I've done it
Jeremy.
twice.
I put it on.
All right. Well, I've never cut my fenders, so if you guys could enlighten me.
I haven't ever cut my fenders.
So I cut my fenders on my JK, which was really fun and scary all at the same time. That was the first time I'd ever cut a vehicle. And I went hog wild and trimmed my fenders quite a bit. I never did it on my XJ. But it's a way to clear tires. And then I did cut my fenders on my Wagoneer, and that was a cut and fold where I did like cantaloupe. If you cut it up along the Rhine, up to the Rhine, and then I folded it in.
Gotcha. That's a good way to explain it, Jeremy. Don't look weird. You know how you take like a slice of cantaloupe when you chop all the way to the rind, and then you don't really fold the cantaloupe, but at that point you take the knife and you slice it, and all the little pieces come off in chunks.
Oh, okay.
So what he's saying is you do up to that step, then you fold the sheet metal over.
I see what he's saying now.
Yeah.
I was like, I've never folded cantaloupe before.
It's called the cut and fold, and then you could use some body filler in there to prevent moisture from getting in there and causing more rust.
But when you got an old Wagoneer, you don't bother with that.
No,
just send it.
Not at all. Send it. Yeah. It already had tetanus shots,
So anytime I think of cut fenders, I'm thinking of like the XJ guys and Sawzalls.
Dirt every day.
Can you make a cut fender look good, or do you cut it and then eventually, once you save up some money, you put some bushwhackers over it?
I've seen that done quite a few times where it looks really good. My Jeep, my it's a Jeep thing. My JK, the fenders look good when I thought they looked good for what they were trimmed. I used like the door trim. I can't think of like the black trim that you put around a door that they sell at the auto parts stores. I put that along the edge so it looked nice and crisp. So I don't know. It looks better than nothing.
I'm actually gonna say, like, for a dedicated wheeling rig, I kind of like the look of cut fenders, like even
Mm.
just plain cut fenders. Like, uh, Dirt Every Day does a really good job. They're always cutting fenders,
Yeah,
because
but they've probably cut like 50 pairs of fenders and they've got the finesse down now.
at least I'm sure it's been more than that. It seems like every episode they're cutting fenders off.
Well,
It's budget.
it's a cheap way
Yeah,
to bigger tires.
it's quick,
Yeah.
keeping
Quick.
quick.
Don't even have to take the tires off half the time.
Well,
Yeah.
you throw them on and figure out what needs to be cut off.
Yep, and then you
Well,
flex it up.
speaking of takeoffs, that's another budget thing is if the model you have has a bigger brother that's got better parts on it.
It's
You
one of
can
my
probably
favorite grades.
find those pretty easy on Craigslist and eBay and forums specifically for your vehicle.
Yeah, I know the JK guys and the JL guys are always doing that because you just buy all the Rubicon stuff when the people upgrade their Ruby stuff.
Yep,
Yeah.
transfer case, axles. I mean, it's $1,000
It-
for an axle versus whatever
yeah,
else. I mean, that's lockers and gears. If you
well,
depend,
yeah. I mean, you could probably do a set of takeoff JK Dana 44s with the locker and the 410 gears, and you're probably cheaper than if you just try to install a locker and do the gears yourself.
yeah,
Mhm.
I've seen axles go for $2,000, and that's what you'd spend just on the gears.
Yep.
They're already broken in, so
Sometimes broke in.
yeah, sometimes broken.
Sometimes
Uh,
broken.
and that's even for like my Forerunner there. That's a way to get an e-locker. That's a way to get TRD suspension, which is going to be better than stock suspension, though at the
Mhm.
age mine is, you're just better off with new suspension.
Well, and then there's other things too, like interior parts. Like some trim levels have some super nice seats or heated seats. Um, Ben, you have aftermarket, not aftermarket. You've got a factory radio unit from a totally different model, but it's plug and play into your rig, and eventually
Yeah,
you'll
I
have a
got
backup
string.
camera.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
That is
there's all kinds of stuff. Or you might just be like, I don't like the interior, but this other model has nicer door cards or nicer carpet and or a better headliner or things like that. You can swap out interior trim parts as well, or the center console, or take your bench seat out and put buckets in there.
Daniel commented on the on YouTube feed. Rust is Mother Nature's way of telling you need bigger tires.
Darwin.
Darwin, yeah.
Oh, Darwin, sorry.
Darwin, yeah. Daniel said you need better glasses. Darwin says rust is Mother Nature's way of saying you need bigger tires.
Ain't that the truth?
Yep.
So the next thing we got on this list is a winch.
So you can buy a budget winch and not die.
You
I will
can.
say, if you are going with a budget winch, make sure you're always going with somebody.
Yeah.
Although you should never go alone. Wink, wink to me and Aaron. Um, it's if you're going to go alone, you definitely want to not cheap out on a winch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing is you can not necessarily buy a budget winch, but you could buy a used winch.
Yeah,
I've seen lots of
certainly.
old worn winches and they work better than a lot of the newer, um, winches that are out there on the market. So, um,
Just remember, unless the company is going to deliver you a new winch on the trail, a good lifetime warranty does not replace good parts to begin with.
yep.
Correct. Yep. Well, how about some lights? You guys think you need the most expensive lights on your rig?
Well, as much as I would love some brand new Bajas or some Vision X, I can afford some Chinesium lights that are blinding and effective. And as long as the hardware doesn't fall out while I'm driving down the road, I'm all good.
How many Chinesium lights have you been through on your Forerunner?
6.
I might venture to guess that you might be at a legitimate light price by then.
No, so mine has been
I don't.
hardware falling out.
Yeah, I don't think he's lost any lights. It's just hardware vibrates out.
Yeah, so
He's
I've
not
got yeah, it's not the
tightening
lights
stuff down
actually
enough.
breaking. Actually, so one set of lights has broken, and they're HIDs that I've had for. They were on the stink bug. They
They
were
broke.
yeah, those ones. One of them died and broke.
Huh.
So I think it was the ballast went out on it,
Yeah.
and it's internal ballast, so there's no way of fixing that.
Oh, I've fixed them before. You just take it apart and go to eBay and buy a ballast and swap it out if you
All
haven't
right,
thrown them
cool.
away yet.
They're actually here in the garage still. So
Yeah.
no, actually, I did throw those ones away finally.
Okay, never mind.
Hey,
Yep.
hey, Ben, a couple words on the fasteners. Loctite is usually a good option.
Yes, so that's actually what I was going to get to is purple Loctite. I think is the anti-vibration, the really light one.
If you have enough thread on it, because I'm assuming it's the nut that runs through the bumper, so it's got like
No,
a post.
nope.
No, oh, okay, never mind.
It's the bracket that goes into where the nut go or the bolt goes through it, through the bracket, through the housing a little bit, and then there's a nut that's on the inside, and that's the same one, different size fasteners each time.
Is there
The
enough room
good
on it
news,
for a jam nut or something?
No.
the good news is that you can go to any hardware store and pick up new hardware also, and
Oh
maybe
yeah.
you want to do that with some of the components you buy that are cheap, because you can look at hardware and say, oh my goodness, this is absolute garbage, and you can replace it yourself before you even start the project.
Yeah, especially if you're dealing with stuff where it's got like the Allen head, Allen keyed hardware. You'd
Hmm.
probably want to upgrade that to something a little better to where the metal's not going to be nearly as soft.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Ben's favorite way to save money:
Tires.
tires.
Yeah, I've gone through quite a few sets of used tires over the years, and my best advice would be buy new tires. But if you can't, um, and you are getting used tires, find um, a new rig takeoff. So like a newer Jeep that just did, someone bought a Rubicon and they're like, I'm going to 35s right now. So here's my 33s or 32.7s or whatever the heck they are for sale for $200. There you go. You've just saved yourself after mounting, installing them, roughly $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll get you home. It'll get you through the trail. I've had mine about 2 years on my rig now.
Another thing is to look up the date codes on them.
Oh my
Make
goodness,
sure.
please do look up date codes. Otherwise, when your tire explodes and you're like, why'd my tire blow up? Well, it might be because it's that old.
This might be a 12-year-old tire
Uh-huh.
So
just because it's
that
got lots of life on it.
so that would be a great time where you would say, "Hey, this can actually endanger your life, or actually end up costing you more money when you have to buy a new rim."
Yeah. And speaking of wheels, that's another upgrade.
Yep.
Why are wheels an upgrade?
Well, you can get you can get so the TRD wheels for the Forerunners, for example, they have a different offset. They're a little deeper set. Would that be the right word? Deeper?
Well, it depends. Are you talking offset or are you talking backspacing?
Deeper backspacing, I think would be the word I'm looking for.
Shallower backspacing.
Shallower backspacing. There we go. I'm terrible with wheels. We
You
really
want the
need
low
Andy to
number,
come on and do a wheel episode.
low numbers on backspacing.
Yeah. So yeah, you can get a better backspacing for a wider stance. I think the Rubicon ones do that, or not the Rubicon. The TRD ones do. I can't remember. Jeremy, do you?
They do, but it's not a ton.
No, it's not a ton. But if you're looking for that stance look, then that's a way to achieve it cheaper than buying new wheels.
For sure. It's probably not going to let you clear much bigger tires, but it might let you clear one size bigger.
Yeah. And then you can go cheap and buy used steels, which are a lot more affordable, and you can get all the backspacing you need, like I have for my 35s now.
And you can also do some, if you're interested in beadlock tires, either buy them used or you can do the DIY beadlocks. I don't know if I'd recommend them, but it is an option, especially if it's mostly a trail rig.
Yeah, that's the only time I would ever suggest the weld-on DIY beadlocks is if it's a dedicated trail rig. Otherwise, it scares me to see people drive those at highway speeds.
Yeah.
And I keep wanting to do them, and the work and effort that needs to go into them, I'd rather just buy new ones.
Yes.
Because money. You're trusting someone's welds for highway speeds when
Well, I don't think that the welds are going to fail, but you might warp the steel or soften the steel, or you might never be able to balance your tire because it's just too heavy on one side, and
yeah,
you end up with 3/4 of a pound of weight on the
yeah.
other side. And
If you're going the DIY route, I would say have a professional weld them so that you can hopefully not have that problem.
yeah, I I personally would just only ever use it for a trail rig that gets trailered to and from.
Yeah,
I just
especially
wouldn't
if you've
trust it.
got family in the rig.
Yeah.
Or just
Well, next
yourself.
one. Yeah,
And
honestly,
who cares about me?
you're worth your life is worth more than what you just saved on welding up some beadlocks. The next one here we got on the lift Freudian slip list is a lift. Um, Most everybody who gets into off-roading at the beginning, they can't go out and afford the most awesome suspension right at
Can't
the bat.
afford the brand new Stage 2 Icon lift.
Correct.
Oh my goodness! Or that rock
So
hard.
So what do? They go on Amazon and they get a budget lift, as people call it, which is like a spacer block that goes on top of your front suspension, and maybe a spacer block that goes underneath your leaf springs in the back, or a ATA leaf, or a shackle extension in the rear. Something one of those three combinations, and it costs you $150. Takes 2 hours to install it, and wahoo, you got a little bit of a lift for not much money.
Yeah, they're handy, and even after that, you can go to say a higher trim level, and you can get their suspension. I know for Jeeps, I believe the Rubicon suspension was like a 2-inch lift for the JKs.
I don't think it was that much.
No, maybe it was only an
I
inch,
I thought it was about an inch.
but still, it's
Yeah.
better than factory. I
Maybe
haven't,
maybe it's if you put like a 4-door on a 2-door, you
and
get
that's
more.
actually what I did do was a four
Yeah,
door on a 2-door.
Yeah.
So maybe it was an inch and a half, but still, it was enough to allow me to clear 33s.
we did that with the stink bug. Also, we put some Volkswagen's Passat wagon springs
Yeah,
on the stink bug, and it gave it some stiffer ride, but a higher suspension lift.
We don't need our spines anyways, right?
Sure. There's
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a cheap way to do a lift, and I'm not going to say it's the wrong way. It's the
I
right
will.
way when you're starting. It doesn't do all the suspension lifting that you think you're doing. Um, you're going to lose down travel and things like that, but it gets you out there. It gets you.
travel.
It was up travel.
Well, never mind. You're right.
I
Yeah.
think it's down travel
Yeah.
because you're forcing it down with the spacer up front.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's the wrong way to start, but it's you will greatly benefit from something better down the road.
Yes.
How about brakes? Should we cheap out on those?
No.
No.
No? Come on.
No.
I'm just gonna go to Wish. Here we go. I'm gonna bring up Wish again. I bet you can get some sweet vented, slotted, drilled, painted rotors
Ugh.
on Wish.
So,
can.
so what you can do though is you can do like a brake upgrade. I know with like the Forerunners, you can so the 4th gen Forerunner, you can get the 5th gen Forerunner, which is a dual piston versus a single piston, which is gonna less prone to seizing is the big thing with that. Or you can do the Tundra brake upgrade, which is the same deal, and it's a larger brake. So you'll go from you're forced to upgrade from a 16-inch wheel to a 17-inch wheel, which I mean 17 is kind of the bee's knees when it comes to wheel selection nowadays. So
Another thing is if you have like a 4-cylinder rig, you probably have smaller brakes than a 6-cylinder rig. I know it's that way with the Frontiers and stuff. So even just going from 6-cylinder brakes to 4-cylinder brakes. Sorry, I got that backwards. Putting 6-cylinder brakes on your 4-cylinder rig will give you bigger brakes. So
You mean
might
you're not
check that out.
advocating putting the smaller brakes on your rig that came with bigger brakes?
Not unless you're looking for that weight savings because you're drag racing instead or something. I don't know,
Well, you even have to stop when you're drag racing.
but only a little. Yeah. Like Ben was talking, Nissan has the similar stuff where you can put the V8 version from the Pathfinder onto the Frontier, or you can put the Titan onto the Frontier. I should say onto the Xterra as well. Stuff like that.
yeah, an upgrade to your brakes is always nice, especially if you're on the trail and you're driving downhill and two-wheel drive and just burning up those brakes.
Yeah, we
You should
totally
go into-
experienced that in Nevada.
You should go into 4 low.
Yes, you should.
Good. You should definitely do that, Eric.
Yep. So this is more of a mod. It's not necessary, but like a roof rack or a bed rack. Those are pretty popular with the overlanding crowd. And if you want something like that, you can save money if you build it yourself.
Yeah, you definitely can save money if you build it yourself, or even just finding something on the used market. I can't stress the used market enough. I've saved so much money going on the used market because someone's like, "Oh, I'm selling my build, but I'm never going to get the money I put into it. So at least I can sell some of my stuff and make some money back."
The next thing on our list is skid plates. So one of the nice things with skid plates is you can kind of pick them up from like the Rubicon if you have a model that has if you have a rig that has a higher model that comes with those stock, a lot of the times those people are taking those off and selling them on the used market since when they got the better ones. So skid plates are a good one. Or you could DIY some skid plates depending on the design under your rig. You'd really have to take a hard look at it and see whether or not you have the skills to do it. But some rigs have a nice, easy, you can pretty much just do a flat plate, but most of them you're going to have to start doing some bending.
Yeah, and you kind of want the bending too because it gives it some more rigidity. If you just bolted a flat piece of plate
Yeah.
to the bottom of your rig, first thing it hits, it's gonna fold some. But when you bend those edges, it really stiffens it up.
Yeah. If you were going to just do a flat plate, you definitely want to have it pretty much on bolted on all sides.
Yeah.
About the only way you're going to get away with it.
And then, like Ben mentioned, the used market, that's where I got my skid plates from. And skid plates, as long as they're not factory stamped steel ones, they will last mostly forever unless you absolutely beat the snot out of them.
Yeah. Just if you are going to buy used skid plates, you got to know that you might have some fitment issues and you might need to do a little bit more wrestling with them because
Mm-hmm.
somebody else probably bent them to the shape of their rig as on some rocks.
And a lot of times they're missing hardware.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
Forget the missing hardware. Always missing
Yep.
hardware.
Always when you're buying used stuff.
And if you're missing hardware, make sure you buy the correct hardware and you don't just go buy like, grade 5 bolts when you need grade 8.
And then you use
Wish.com.
Nature's Loctite on them, getting them in.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Air compressor. Oh boy. Great with those, right?
So I gotta throw this story out here. I may have told this on here before, but I've got a buddy, and he likes to do stuff the most inexpensive ways possible. I'm not talking about Ben. He likes to fabricate and stuff like that. And I'm not kidding. He rode around in his personal cars with a bicycle pump to air his tires up and down. Yeah.
Oh, God.
I
That's
shouldn't say air his tires up and down. He wasn't a wheeler with his rig.
Mm.
But like if he had a low tire, he'd just get out with the bicycle pump and pump it, pump it, pump it, pump it, pump it, pump it. I gave him my Harbor Freight air compressor when I upgraded.
I'm sure that was a good upgrade for him.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things you can do is you could buy one of the cheaper, like the Harbor Freight compressors. Chances are you're not going to get as much life out of it as you would something like an ARB. You can also do a DIY CO2 rig, but that's not going to be as fast as the power tank, as Ben found out. The other thing you can do is a lot of the times, like ARB, you can buy a kit that instead of having to figure out a mounting location, which might require buying more product, like for my JK, I have the Metal Cloak mount, and it was I think like $70 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. So that factors into it. So you can get one of the kits that just alligator clips right to your battery, and so it's portable, and you can save a little bit of money by not having to buy the material to install it into your vehicle.
I will say that if you are going to buy an air compressor that's not mounted inside your vehicle and directly connected to your battery, it's going to be slower than one that would connect directly to your battery. Those alligator clips allow for more power or more pull and therefore more compression, so you get more airflow. So if you're looking for one, find one that connects directly to your battery versus a cigarette plug one,
Yeah.
or
Or a hand pump.
or
Well,
a Ryobi one hand powered one.
You got to remember the reason why the cigarette ones don't put as much power is the wire from the battery to the cigarette plug is a lot smaller gauge than
Mhm.
what the air compressor really
that is-
needs.
Yeah. And like we mentioned at the beginning of the main topic, Jeremy was talking about building your own CO2 tank, but Ben found out it wasn't as fast. it's okay if stuff isn't as fast as your buddy's stuff. You don't
Yeah.
have to have the best. It's not life or limb that you get your usually it's not life or limb that you get your tires aired up as fast as your buddies.
And,
Um,
and I'll say if you are the first one aired up, everyone looks at you to help them finish airing up quickly.
yeah, that's true.
That's a good point. Although counterpoint, if you're wheeling with small children who don't have very much attention span for a vehicle that's not in motion, having that faster air compressor makes for happier kids.
That's true. Well, how about some axle vent tubes? Have you guys ever DIY'd that?
I did.
I still haven't done that.
I
I
DIY'd them
I
on
did
my
as well.
Taco.
Okay.
It wasn't too hard. Just got some fuel line, and I had to buy the right connector for the axle housing. So you
Mhm.
unscrew the one that's in there, and then you screw the new one in. And just make sure you run them up high enough where you're not going to breathe in water. You don't have to go and get like the ARB diff breather kit that has the nice ARB filter. You can just put. I think I just put another. So it kind of has the stem, and the stock one's like that stem, and then it just has a little dust cover cap. I think I reused mine
Yeah,
and just threw it up on the top.
yeah, you can generally what I've seen is the guys that do the DIY like that is they just buy new fresh filters, which are the same ones that the factory ones have, where it has
Mhm.
like a little dust cover, and then they just move them up to a higher location.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep, that is an easy mod, but I want to point out the benefit of buying a kit is that it's all there in one piece. You didn't have to try to source something. You don't have to have the wrong kind of tubing, have it collapse on you because you bought clear vinyl tubing or something. You can mess some of these mods. You can totally mess them up. So
yeah.
this one's not life or death. That's good news. But yeah, you can totally DIY this one. You could totally buy it somewhere and not have it be a big deal as well.
Yeah,
Although,
it's a fun weekend mod.
yeah,
Yeah.
although it's not life or death, I will say you do have to be a little bit careful because you can actually end up wrecking your seals if your tubing collapses on itself and it builds up pressure inside your differential.
Certainly.
And that can cost a lot if you don't know how to do the seals yourself.
Correct. Yep. All right, Ben, take it away.
Bumpers, bumpers. So DIY ones, obviously is my favorite go-to, because it's, hey, here's a case of beer. Can you help me weld this up? And
Except that it takes 1,000 years for you to get a bumper or skid plates. Are your skid plates in yet?
no, they're not done yet. I've had other priorities lately, and like I said, the floors are being done right now. So, yeah, and that's the thing is when you have a project like a DIY bumper or whatever, you are at your friend's mercy on their timeline, because you have like this cost, um, what is it? Cost, time, and quality. You can
Mm-hmm.
only get two, and well, actually, you might only get one of them,
Huh.
depending upon
Yeah.
who you're going to. So
Yep.
yeah, if you want it done right, sometimes you have to wait longer. So, um, giving it to the right buddy to weld it up for you, it might take longer. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting there with a grinder fixing whatever's wrong, or you might be, get it back and you have to do all the grinding still.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
Used market is another spot for those. I've seen I got my rear bumper for my JK on the used market, and I had to fix it a little bit because it was a little twerked.
how many videos have you guys seen on social media of bumpers coming off of rigs?
So many.
So many.
So this one we throw that caveat in there that this could be life or limb. We've seen these bumpers come off and like plaster people in the head or take them out from the legs, things like that, because someone's DIY'd a bumper and maybe they just use poor hardware. Maybe the bumper's great, but they use poor hardware, or they did a poor job welding their recovery points on, or things like that. Make sure you have a competent person helping you, or make sure you're competent if you're welding up something as critical as a bumper.
Yeah.
And
You don't
also
want
know that a bumper, the main purpose of a bumper is to take the brunt of the impact if you get in a car accident. Of course, your newer cars have space frames and they're supposed to ripple and absorb the energy and things like that, but um if you just do you got buy the lightest gauge sheet metal and some light tubing and things like that, your bumper's not going to do anything to help in a crash, and now your car has to absorb all that energy.
Actually, I would say that if you bought the light stuff, it actually probably would do better for absorbing the crash.
You think so? Because it might let it fold in somewhere too soon, and I don't know.
I I would so the issue that you have is rapid deceleration. So if you have something that is a lot stiffer and a lot firmer and a lot stronger, you're going to have a very fast deceleration. Whereas even if you have something flimsy, that's going to be better in the event of a car crash
I
because
don't
it's
know.
going to
I
slow the
see.
amount of deceleration.
I see what you're saying. So one of the issues, if you have the thick, is that the person is going to decelerate faster,
Yes.
which can cause a lot of serious injuries. But I guess what I was thinking about was that your car might fold in on you personally and cause you physical harm more if the car crumples more than it should because the bumper didn't take the hit.
I think the bumper from a on-road crash standpoint, I think you always want the bumper. Well, not always. There's obviously
Of course, yeah, yeah.
a point of diminishing returns, but I think you always want it to generally be lighter and fold easier.
I will say, and I've mentioned this many times in the podcast, I bought my ARB bumper specifically because it had crash boxes on it, and it's a big heavy bumper, but it's the crash boxes fold and will take and absorb that energy and then start transferring it on, rather than just like Jeremy's talking about, something super solid and not
like
movable.
mine's going right to the frame.
Which is bad for car crashes.
Yes.
Good
Yeah.
for off road though.
Great for off road. Bad. For
another
frame.
way to save money on a bumper is to not do a bumper at all and to do like a hidden winch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's been more of a popular option, even in like the Toyota market. They're going more towards the it's just the center section winch. It's
Mhm.
like a winch carrier. The rest of the bumper remains. It's just in the middle of the frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I sometimes I wish I would have went that route. I think it looks super clean.
It does.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with what you're going to do with your vehicle, though, too. Like if you're going to go be a hardcore rock crawler, you probably want the steel bumpers.
Yep.
Absolutely. 100%.
The other thing you can do is just cutting the bumper. So, like a lot of the Jeep guys, or what some of the Jeep guys do, especially before they get the steel bumpers, but they want it to be a stubby bumper, so they have a little bit more better approach angle on their tire. You can just trim it off.
Mm-hmm.
So
Go with no bumper.
Or well, I don't know that I'd go with no bumper, but
Oh, you see it out there all the time. No front and rear bumper on those XJs. It's always
yeah,
the XJs.
you
Or
see it.
the 4x6 or 2x6 there.
Yeah,
Yeah, a piece of lumber.
yeah. So what's Eric's damage multiplier?
So he has one of those. I think they call it a bull bar, and it's just like
Yeah,
the
he does.
round Nerf tube that comes up underneath. So it hangs lower than anything from the factory.
Yep.
And then it's on like two bolts, so it will like hinge and crush into stuff. And he did take a little impact with it on the trip. And I think that it went backwards and touched his front bumper, but didn't do any damage.
So is he
He
taking it off?
slapped it there.
He is ready to take it off.
He was actually planning on taking it off, but he forgot about taking it off before the trip.
Yeah. The thing that people usually refer to as the damage multiplier is those brush guards. So they connect in the same spot, lower than your front bumper, so you lose the approach angle, and then it goes up past your grill, and then it zooms out past your headlights and stuff like that. And apparently they guard the front end of your truck against brush. So
They're good for
uh,
grass. Anything
yeah,
heavier than grass, if say you hit a deer or a dog or something, it's gonna not only take
protester.
out your radiator, it's gonna take out your headlights, your hood, your grill,
hmm Your fenders.
your
Yeah,
fenders.
it just like gives your truck a nice hug. It just wraps itself around and says, "I just want to hug you."
I
Where
just
if you
want to.
just hit a deer, it might take out a headlight and a fender and your bumper rather than the whole front end has to be replaced.
Yeah, yeah, or it could just be the grill and your radiator, but
hmm
you replace those two things. There you go. You're good again.
Yeah.
Nope, not with the damage multiplier.
Nope. Well, this one, Ben, I think you've been kind of the king of since I've known you, storage and organization inside your rig. So you always have something
Going.
inexpensive, and I'm not being facetious at all. I like you've always got some Rubbermaid totes that you're swapping out. I believe in the back of your Wagoneer you had like a wooden crate that you used and different things like that.
I've had so many different things, and I still have most of them, actually, except for the wooden crate. I burned that because I got mad at it and I just burned it. Um,
Bad crate.
Bad crate, and I burned it. It was really great fire. Um, but I try to organize my crap. I don't want to get in a wreck, and I have lots of little knick-knacky things and tire repair kits and flashlights. And if I get in a wreck, I'd prefer it stay in a single giant mass and hopefully get wet behind my seat instead of flying at my head.
hmm
Jeremy's laughing as he's thinking about all the tiny crap versus one big heavy thing.
Well, I'm thinking that you want it to be in a bigger, heavier thing. I you could just also strap everything down so nothing comes flying.
Well, so that's the joy of like the totes is I can strap them down
Yeah.
versus the tiny crap. It's loose and not secure.
hmm
So currently in the back of mine, I have a Plano tub, and then that holds all my recovery gear, my first aid kit, most of everything except for my power tank, and my high lift is strapped on the roof. So
And you can go ahead and do, if you have a bunch of lumber laying around, a good thing to do might be to build yourself some drawers.
yes, drawers are amazing.
That's what I've
Yeah.
got going on in my rig, and I'm pretty happy with them.
Aaron's got
That
the
definitely is the next level of budget because um you have to buy good drawer slides if you're going to do drawer slides. You can just have wood slide on wood, but if you want to put some drawer slides in there, they can get kind of costly, but definitely not as costly as buying something brand new made for a rig. They
yeah,
just get really expensive.
Oh yeah,
the nice like the Tuffy drawers. Those are 1,000 plus,
yeah.
Mhm.
and they're
Decked
expensive.
decked
Decked.
is at least $1,000 for
Oh, I
drawers.
love the decked. I've installed a few of those at work. Those are
hmm
amazing.
Yeah,
Uh,
they're awesome.
but again, you've got the cost that comes with them.
Yep. Goose gear.
Goose gear.
Oh, the goose gear stuff is amazing. I
Mhm.
I want to get rid of my kids so I can get the goose gear seat delete platform.
Wow. Already talking about getting rid of the kids.
If you sell them, you might be able to buy those and axles, yeah, and
Ooh,
not have to sell a kidney.
yeah, there you go.
Maybe your wife could just keep making more babies, and you could keep selling them, and you make them, and you sell them, and you make them, and you sell them. You could have a pretty sweet off-road rig.
You just gotta watch who you sell your kids to, right?
Doesn't
I
matter.
would say if you are at the point where you're selling your kids, you probably don't care where they're going.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would say you don't love your kids enough to care.
that is a good point. Well, my mother-in-law has offered to take our children forever. I don't know how my father-in-law would feel about that.
So
Well, next one here, some exterior modification like paint or something like that.
Well, you could rattle camouflage. That's always nice and classy.
I liked it, Ben. I was
I
sad
like-
you painted that.
Loved it. I liked it even.
I think you should have just put a nice coat of clear coat over it when you first got it and left it.
Yeah.
It was worn in so many spots. It was looking pretty bad on the roof. It was cracked pretty bad up there.
Nobody looks at the roof.
Yeah,
You
it's all
you were
patina.
the guy. The thing is that you were the guy that everybody pointed at when they drove down the road and like, that's a cool rig because it looked good from 20 feet away. It was like, yeah, I should camouflage mine because it wasn't just like army green. It was a legit camo paint job,
Yeah,
and I felt like it gave you some baller status, and now you're just a tan forerunner.
I'm a tan forerunner that can rub on a tree and take the bark away.
Yeah, you could have done that before.
yeah,
But what's better is not rubbing on the trees.
that is
Yes,
100% true.
Not that I have any experience with that.
So
Another- Go ahead, Ben.
I was gonna say, spray paint is probably the most popular mod out there for paint mods. If your paint is just completely trashed and gone, or you just feel like doing it, Plasti Dip.
Oh, I
Um,
was gonna say Plasti Dip.
Yeah, I was too. I was waiting for him to shut up so I could throw it
Same
out
here.
oh, geez. And should I add in Raptor lining too, just to take
Yeah.
away all the options?
there. No,
I mean,
honestly, because you've done it, and any type of bed liner is not a terrible option, especially if it's tintable. Just make sure you do a good job at it and
Take
plan
your time.
plan your color before you pick it.
So it doesn't
my
come out baby poop yellow.
Yep.
It aged well.
It
It
did.
did age well.
It has aged well. When I first painted it, it was baby poop yellow. Now it's a beigeish tan. Not my favorite color. I wish it was a little darker, but and that's the thing is when you go with something cheaper, you don't always get exactly what you want.
Mhm.
So you don't get exactly what you paid for or what you
No,
were
you get what
expecting.
you paid for. Yeah, that's not what you're expecting. Yeah,
Yeah,
it doesn't always come out like what you think it will.
Yeah, and but at the same time, my paint has been really great at protecting the metal from corrosion. Um, I've got scratches in it.
You've got 3 layers, so you
Yeah.
should. You got the factory paint,
well,
you got the camouflage, and then you got the Raptor liner.
you don't know how far they sanded it down when they did the camouflage.
It didn't look like they sanded it very well.
Okay then.
Yep.
Well,
Well, Jeremy, you should. Why don't you talk about this next one because I'm sure you've done some research on this recently.
yes. So if you are trying to do an axle swap, either you can do some takeoff axles from if you're in a JK that's not a Rubicon, you can go ahead and get the Dana 44s on the takeoff, or you can do some junkyard axles. There are some bad things to junkyard axles. If you're going to get junkyard axles, make sure they are new enough to take a wheel speed sensor, because otherwise you will get a lot of codes on your vehicle if
Well, that's
not
that's if you
compatible.
that's if you have a vehicle that's new enough to have that kind of stuff. You might have you might be rocking an 87 Toyota or something.
Yeah, this is true. But I mean, it's just stuff to think about.
Yeah.
Also, you're probably going to have to kind of put something together that's not anywhere near something standard. You may even have to look at shortening axles, or you might have to buy some custom axle shafts. They may be an odd length that nobody in the off-road market really makes. The other thing is it's not just going to bolt right up to your vehicle. So you might have to do a lot of cutting and welding of some new brackets, and maybe even some manufacturing of some brackets.
Yeah, I feel like this is for some pretty hardcore people.
Yes.
And but it also is really good for people who are making dedicated off-road trucks or truggies or buggies and things like that, where it's going to be completely custom anyways. Who cares?
Yeah. That's
Put
where
some
the
Super Duty axles and send it.
that's where
And
the
go ahead.
or some Rockwells.
Yeah.
Well, and depending upon the vehicle and whatever you're going with, I mean, this, if you've got the know how to weld and all that, that's really going to save you some money on, and maybe it's Unimog axles on your JK or your YJ or whatever you're putting Unimog axles, so you can get super flexy, and you want 11 feet wide axles.
No, see, you might be mistaken here because I think Unimogs are pretty narrow.
No,
Till you get to the very later versions, the Unimogs are pretty small rigs. You can probably get it on a YJ or something, or a CJ.
I swear the Unimog axles were wider than the Jeeps.
That could be.
Now I'm gonna have to Google it.
The other thing though is I wouldn't be looking at for a rig that sees a lot of highway. I don't think I'd want an axle that I've welded up. I mean, if you're a professional welder, then you probably trust your welds enough to take it on the highway at 80 miles an hour. But there's not a whole lot of people that I trust to weld up an axle for me like that.
Yeah, I there's a few guys I know that have done their own welds for their axles, and it works out okay when they've upgraded to like a 3 link. But these guys are guys that weld for a living, so I would hope that it's great.
Yeah. Oh, and I guess we really didn't mention junkyards in any of our other things, but you can get a lot of great stuff from wrecking yards. You can get your takeoff parts that we talked about, where you might be trying to source them from a forum or something. You might just be able to get it from a wrecking yard. Suspension parts. I know leaf spring guys love different leaf springs from other things, or they'll make their own custom leaf packs from just collecting leaf springs and stacking them up. You can get wheels. You can even get used tires, Ben, from a wrecking yard.
Oh,
And you may even find, once in a while, you may even find some good off road parts.
yeah, yeah. There's
I
been
saw that.
some nice rigs that get wrecked and they end up in the junkyard.
I saw that in a page I was following. I can't remember who it was, but somebody shared a picture. I think it was in a group that they were strolling through a junkyard and they saw a cable sticking out of a rear axle, and they scored a locker from something. So I can't remember the details on it. It's been quite a while back, but yeah, you might score something. You might get lucky.
Yeah, that's how some guys in the Forerunner market get their e-lockers for their rear end. Is they find a, like for my rig, you have to find it off of an FJ Cruiser or a late model Forerunner or the latest last year model of it. So good luck finding one.
Mm-hmm.
I should start cruising the cruising them for some Dynatrack axles, right?
Yeah,
Good luck.
You think I'm going to be that lucky?
No.
Not quite.
Also, the trying to convince them that that's the stock JK axle would probably be the hardest part.
Well,
Hey,
depending
I
on the
want to
pick
buy
and
this
pull you go
axle
to.
here.
What was that, Aaron?
I was gonna say it depends on which pick and pull you go to,
Yeah,
but also, I mean, even if they did have it, and you bought it, it would be substantially less than buying it used somewhere.
that is
I'm sure.
true. Yeah. So the last one on here is a Hemi swap.
It's a what?
A Hemi swap.
Hemi swap? How is that? How is that a budget?
Like I said, there's different. Everybody has a budget. No, that one was just thrown in there as a joke.
Yeah, that's a
But-
whole nother budget there.
But honestly, we can go back to what we were just talking about and say that you can do engine swaps on a budget, including a Hemi swap. You can go to the wrecking yard. You could buy an entire crashed rig do the engine swap, sell off a bunch of other parts that are still good and help recoup some of your costs, you can do that stuff for this engine swap or transmission swap. You want to go from an automatic to a manual, things like that.
Yep. Well,
You just have to have the time and the space to do
That's
it.
the biggest problem.
Yeah.
well, I guess that about wraps it up. Tune in next week, and we have an announcement next week. This is my teaser for it. We've got a big announcement next week. It's going to be pretty cool. So, yeah.
I'm hurting to hear this announcement.
Are you? You must be in the wrong chat.
No, that's a play on words.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's it. That's a hint. It's a hint.
good dad joke. Good dad joke. I got you.
All right. Thank you.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren and Power Tank to see all of their great gear. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.tv or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com, Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe and courteous, and thanks for listening.